What is a BRRRR? BRRRR stands for Buy, Renovate, Rent, Refinance, and Repeat. This strategy works because you're buying an undervalued property, forcing appreciation through renovations, stabilizing it with tenants, and then you're pulling your capital back out and repeating the process over again. The goal isn't just cash flow, the goal is instant equity, long-term appreciation, and infinite return on investment. If done correctly, you end up owning the property with little to none of your own money, or potentially even earning a profit from the deal. Monthly cash flow, and as well equity growth. That's the power of a BRRRR done correctly. This is where most beginners mess up. Your total investment. Purchase price plus rehab should be no more than 65 to 70% of the ARV, the after repair value. Because the banks will typically lend you up to 70 to 75% of the appraised value. If you buy wrong, you won't be able to pull your money back out, and then that BRRRR just ends up becoming a nightmare and dies. Let's use simple math. If a property will be worth $500,000 after repair value, ARV, 70% of that is $350,000. That means your total investment should be under $350,000. That margin protects you. And this is why finding the good deal on the buy side matters more than everything else. You're not buying turnkeys, you're buying ugly houses in the worst condition. The better BRRRRs are the ones that you can get a really good price on it and it's not terribly run down and you don't have to do too much work. Typically, the worse the condition, the bigger the opportunity, because that's when you can get it at a really good purchase price. And where do you find these? Driving for dollars, wholesalers, direct mail, MLS as well. I found some BRRRRs through the MLS. Foreclosures, off-market deals. You want motivated sellers. And you want margin. Quick tip, never trust the ARV given by the wholesaler, because keep in mind, they're looking out for their best interest. They could care less about you. Unfortunately, that's the reality behind it nowadays. You want to run your own comps, and if you don't know how to run your own comps, reach out to an agent that can help out. This is where real investors separate themselves from hobbyists. There are two types of value creation. One, adding value by updating kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, paint, lighting. Two, forcing value, adding in bedrooms, adding bathrooms, finished basements, adding a separate entrance, creating a mother-in-law suite. This is where equity explodes. If you turn a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom into a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom with a kitchenette, you don't just improve it, you change the entire comp category. That's a pricing jump. This is a strategy, not just a rehab. Renovation, stabilize the property, listed on Zillow, apartments.com, Facebook Marketplace, the MLS, screen tenants hard. I use a software called Tenant. I'll drop a link down below in case if anybody wants that. That is also great for screening tenants and marketing the property. Typically my requirements, first month security deposit, background check they need to pass, income verification, 3 times the rent, 580 credit score minimum, no evictions. Quick tip, if you're new, manage it yourself so this way you understand the process way better before hiring a manager. Cash flow starts here, and keep in mind, managing a property on your own is completely doable. I have 23 units that I manage on my own, and I maybe spend 2-3 hours a month at most. Now, the magic. You refinance into long-term financing. Most traditional lenders will require 620 plus credit score. You get better rates above 700. And you have DSCR loans as well nowadays that just focuses on the property itself. That's typically what I go through, so this way less paperwork for me, because I'm self-employed and it's a little harder on me to collect paperwork and then taxes and all that stuff. They're gonna look for 2 years work history, debt to income ratio, but if you're looking at DSCR, the biggest thing is gonna be your ARV and their LTV. As I mentioned before, banks will typically lend 70 to 75% of appraised value. You may be able to go up to 80%, but then the rate's gonna be a lot higher and it won't cash flow. If your deal is structured right, you'll pull most or all of your initial investment back. In some cases, I've made $10,000 to $20,000 on the cash out refinance completely tax-free. And once that's done, your hard money loan disappears. Now you have a 30-year fixed mortgage, lower payment, long-term stability. Here's some real numbers on some deals I've done. First deal, 4721 Woodglen Court. I found this one through a cold call. I bought it for $172,500. I took out a loan for about $182,000 with closing costs all rolled in through a private money lender. After interest and holding costs, I owed my hard money lender $200,000 and $200. Rehab costs around $40,000. And here's where it gets interesting, because that property appraised for $350,000. I refinanced into a 30-year fixed loan with a loan amount of $262,000 at 6.875%. It was a DSCR loan, so I didn't have to submit any paperwork, so the rate's a little higher, but the numbers still worked for me. Mortgage payment, $2,104.62. I rolled closing costs into the refinance again, and I pulled out $46,000 cash. Technically closer to $50,000 to $52,000 since I rolled in the closing costs. But remember, that money that I got back is completely tax-free because it's a loan. Here's the part that most people don't talk about. I rented it for $2,550 before the refinance even finished. Keep in mind, this part is risky. Some people may want to wait until the refinance is done to rent it out, but I knew my numbers. I'm in real estate all the time. I'm a real estate agent as well, so I knew my numbers. I knew it was gonna appraise, and I knew I would be able to get the rent, right? My closing happened at the beginning of the month, so I didn't have a first mortgage payment due for 60 days. That means I got 1 month rent before the refi, 2 months rent after the refi before the first payment's due. That's about $7,650 in additional profit on top of the cash out. So essentially, I got $50,000 tax-free cash, $7,650 from timing the rent alone, zero of my own purchase money left in the deal. Now, I do pay for rehab out of pocket today, but in the beginning, I used to use my hard money for the rehab as well. I started paying for my own rehab, so this way I can profit a little more, but that's part of leverage. And what did I do with that money? I rolled it straight into the next deal. And this deal is deal number 2, 459 Maryland Avenue. This is a duplex that I found through a wholesaler. Purchase price, $220,000. I rolled in closing costs again and actually got paid $10,000 at closing when I bought using a hard money loan. Total initial loan, $235,000. Rehab, $45,000. The ARV was $475,000 to $500,000 if I went with higher end finishes. I kept it modest because I didn't want to spend too much on rehab, and it was tenant occupied and was going to be tenant occupied during the renovations as well. This one sat on a double lot, so the appraisal actually came in at $460,000 even just with my modest rehab that I did. I owed the private money lender about $258,500. I refinanced into $342,000 loan at 6.625%, 30-year fixed DSCR loan. Mortgage payment around $2,630.37. I cashed out $66,964. And that doesn't even include the refi closing costs that got rolled into the refi. So technically the full cash out was even higher. Both units rent combined $3,000 per month. But here's the part that makes the BRRRR powerful. Just like the first deal, I had it rented out already before the refi finished because it came with tenant occupied, and 2 months grace period before my first mortgage payment was due. That means $3,000 times 3 months, $9,000 in rent with no mortgage payment yet, plus the rent that they were already paying me, which was around like $1,200 each month per unit, so $2,400, right? So that entire $9,000 plus more from the initial rent payments of the existing tenants was profit on top of the refinance cash out. That's the power behind BRRRR. I made a ton of money and gaining a ton of equity and getting monthly cash flow. Let's be real, this strategy is powerful, but dangerous if sloppy. Mistakes include overestimating ARV, underestimating rehab, bad contractors, appraisals coming in low, interest rate changes, and poor tenant screening. BRRRR requires good credit, knowledge of market, liquidity, a strong team, and discipline. It's not passive at all. This is active wealth building. And I don't know if I would have been able to do this in the beginning of my real estate journey. As I gained experience, I'm able to execute these as close to perfect as possible. There's hiccups here and there, but we're getting the job done. Now, who should use BRRRR? BRRRR is best for investors who want to scale, people with stable income, those willing to learn numbers and learn a skill. Long-term wealth builders, if you just want one rental and peace, turnkey may be easier. But if you want portfolio growth, BRRRR is how people accelerate. The BRRRR strategy isn't magic. It's math, it's margin, it's discipline, it's skills, it's having the right team. Buy right, renovate smart, rent strong, refinance strategically, repeat patiently. Do that 5 times and your life completely changes.